Welcome to the Science of Hockey, the podcast where we break down the science behind ice hockey. I'm the analyst, your host, and every week we explore the data, research, and evidence that shape how we play, train, and understand the game of hockey. From biomechanics to performance psychology, we take you beyond the rink and into the research lab, giving you insights that go beyond hearsay and into what really makes the difference on the ice. Whether you're a player, a coach, a parent, or just someone passionate about the sport, we're here to bring you scientifically backed information in a language that's friendly and easy to understand. So grab your skates and let's dive into the science of hockey. Hello, hockey fans. This is the Science of Hockey, and I'm the analyst. In this episode, we explore a study that bridges off-ice agility with on-ice performance. From weaving drills to reactive skating, discover how training off the ice enhances game time performance. Stay tuned.
All right, so get this. You sent in some research on hockey players and their agility training. And it's got me wondering, can you actually get better at on-ice agility by training off the ice?
Yeah, that's a question a lot of athletes have, right? I mean, it makes sense that practicing on the ice is key, but how much can you really gain from training off the ice?
Right, exactly. Will running through cones in the gym actually help you dodge opponents on skates?
Yeah.
So this study we're looking at today tries to answer that exact question.
Yeah.
It looks at young hockey players and compares on-ice versus off-ice agility training.
Yeah, they used two groups of players.
Yeah.
Similar skill level, similar experience level.
Okay.
One group did on-ice agility training first, then took a break, then did off-ice.
Got it.
The other group did the reverse off-ice, then on Kong.
Okay.
And throughout the whole study, they were tested on different agility drills on the ice.
Gotcha. So what did they find? Did either type of training actually make a difference?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. Both types of training did improve agility, which tells us there are some transfer of skills happening from off-ice to on-ice.
Okay.
But, as you might expect, the on-ice training had a much stronger overall impact.
Okay, that makes sense. But were there any drills in particular where on-ice training really stood out?
Absolutely. Two areas where on-ice training really shined were weave agility. So that's skating with a puck through obstacles, and reactive agility, which is how quickly you can change direction based on what your opponent is doing.
So the things that really mimic what you'd be doing in an actual game.
Exactly.
Okay, but hold on. Both groups saw some improvement. Does that mean off-ice training is still worth it?
That's a great question. And I think this study suggests that it might be, especially for building those foundational pieces of agility, like reaction time coordination and decision-making under pressure. Things that you can then apply on the ice.
So kind of building that base and then you fine-tune it when you actually get on the ice.
Exactly.
That's not a bad strategy. But hold on. The study also found that some agility skills didn't improve regardless of training.
That's right. They didn't see any improvements in straight-ahead skating speed or a drill called the S-corner test, which is skating around face-off circles.
Interesting. So why didn't any of the agility training affect those skills? You'd think it at least impacts skating speed a bit.
Well, it might come down to the specific training program they used in the study.
Okay.
Seems like they focused more on quick changes in direction reaction time, multi-directional movements, less on pure speed or technique.
So it's like they were training for agility, not necessarily just raw skating power.
Exactly.
I see. Were the players in the study already pretty good skaters, maybe close to their peak speed for their age?
They were, which could be why they didn't see a lot of improvement there.
Makes sense. Wouldn't want to waste time working on skills that are already strong.
Right.
Now, there's another interesting twist. This study looked at the order of the training. So whether players did on-ice or off-ice first actually impacted some of the results.
Yeah, this was kind of unexpected. You'd think a general foundation of agility built off the ice would lead to better performance on the ice no matter when you did it.
That's what I would thought for sure, but what did they find?
Well, the group that did their on-ice training first actually has slightly better results in that reactive agility test. So they were quicker and more adaptable to their opponent's movements.
That's interesting. So maybe doing the on-ice work first kind of primes your brain and body for that specific type of agility.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it's not like a huge difference, but it's there.
But couldn't it also be that starting with the off-ice training helps build a stronger foundation of general athleticism, which you can then refine for on-ice movements?
It's possible, for sure. But it seems like experiencing those specific demands of on-ice agility early on might help your brain and body learn more effectively later.
Yeah, I get that it's like your brain is already wired for those quick, precise movements after training on the ice. So then when you do the off-ice drills, you're building on an existing foundation.
Right, exactly. It's like
Yeah.
you've established this blueprint for your body to reference, even when you're in a different environment.
Gotcha.
Of course, more research is needed, but it's definitely an intriguing observation.
Definitely. It's pretty cool to think about that the order of your training could actually make a difference in your progress.
Yeah.
Before we get too carried away with these findings, though, we should probably talk about some limitations of this study.
You're absolutely right. Like any research, there are some important caveats to consider here.
Okay, so let's talk limitations. What are some things we got to keep in mind when we're looking at these findings?
Well, one of the big ones is sample size. I mean, they only
Yeah.
had 14 players total split between those two groups.
Oh, wow, that's pretty small. How much does that affect things? I mean, could we see different results if they had a bigger group?
It's definitely something to think about. It doesn't like completely invalidate the findings, but we should be cautious about applying these results to every hockey player out there.
Right, makes sense. Are there any other limitations we should mention?
Yeah, another one is that the study only looked at adolescent players.
Okay.
So teens, basically, it's possible that the best balance of on-ice and off-ice training, and even those order effects we talked about, could be different depending on how old the athlete is or how much experience they have.
So what you're saying is a program that works for a teenager might not work as well for like an adult or a pro.
Exactly, yeah. Physical development, skill, mastery,
Yeah.
previous training, even things like injury risk, all those things come into play.
All right, so we've got this research on adolescent hockey players, and we're keeping in mind that it might not apply to everyone, but let's bring it back to you, the listener. How can you use this information to improve your own training?
Well, first off, don't stress if you can't always be on the ice. Well, this study shows that on-ice training is the best for on-ice agility.
Yeah.
The fact that off-ice training did ID have some benefit is encouraging.
So it's not like all or nothing. You can still make progress, even if you can only fit in some off-ice work. That's good to hear. This study focused on very specific agility drills. Do you think there are any other off-ice activities that could transfer even better to on-ice performance?
That's a great question. I think activities that really emphasize those quick reactions, fast decision-making, explosive movements, things like that could be super beneficial.
Like what?
Well, things like plyometrics, agility ladder drills,
Yeah.
maybe even some video games that require all that quick hand-eye coordination.
Hold on, you're saying playing video games could actually help my hockey skills?
Potentially. Yeah, it's all about training those responses.
I like that, but wait, what exactly are plyometrics and agility ladder drills?
Oh, good point. Let me explain. Those plyometrics are exercises that involve like rapidly stretching and contracting your muscles. So think jump squats or box jumps. Those types of movements help you develop power and explosiveness. And agility ladder drills involve quick footwork patterns within a ladder that's laid out on the ground. These drills can really help you improve your foot speed coordination and overall agility.
So it's not just about like mindless drills. You got to be strategic and think about how your off-ice training is going to translate to on-ice performance.
Exactly. And that's where having a good coach or trainer can be incredibly helpful.
Right.
They can work with you to design a program that's tailored to your needs and goals.
Okay.
And they can take into account things like your current skill level and how much time you can actually dedicate to training.
All right, so we've got on-ice training being the gold standard. Off-ice still has its place. The order might matter too. Anything else we should be talking about?
Well, one thing that really stood out to me was how they defined agility in this study. It wasn't just about physical speed and coordination, but also those cognitive aspects, like quick thinking, reaction time, adapting to unexpected situations.
Right, like it's not just being fast, it's being a smart player on the ice.
Exactly. And that's something that I think is often overlooked in training programs. We focus so much on the physical, but the mental side of the game is just as important, if not more so.
Yeah, you could be the fastest skater out there, but if you can't anticipate your opponent's moves or make split-second decisions, you're not going to be as effective.
Exactly. And that's where those off-ice activities that challenge your cognitive abilities can really come into play.
Right.
It can help you build those mental muscles too.
So to wrap up this part of our deep dive, it seems like there's no single answer when it comes to agility training.
Right.
It's about finding the right balance of on-ice and off-ice work, understanding your personal goals, and remembering to train your mind as well as your body.
That's a great summary. And, this research is just one piece of the puzzle. There are always new studies coming out. And our understanding of how athletes develop is constantly evolving.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. So let's leave the listener with one final thought to ponder. The researchers here only looked at adolescent hockey players with a specific training program.
Uh-huh.
What if the results would be different for other groups of players?
That's a great point. We're talking about your training here. What if they did a similar study but with adults or beginners or even pros? Would the findings be the same? What about different training approaches?
Right. Maybe something like yoga, rock climbing, dance, even something totally unexpected could have some transfer over to on-ice agility.
Ooh, I like that. What if you took a look at your own training and thought, okay, what kind of activities could help me improve my on-ice game? Maybe you'll discover the next big breakthrough.
Exactly. It's all about exploring and pushing those boundaries.
This has been super helpful. We unpacked a lot here, from the specific findings of the study to those broader principles of specificity and training your mind.
Yeah, definitely. We challenged some assumptions and hopefully gave you, the listener, a lot to think about for your own training.
And we're not done yet. We've got one more segment in this deep dive where we'll dig into something that really stood out to me in this research. Okay. So we're back for the final part of our deep dive into hockey agility training. And before we wrap things up, I wanted to touch on something that really stuck with me as we were going through this research.
Okay, yeah. What is it?
It's the idea of specificity. The fact that on-ice training was so much more effective than off-ice, how the order of the training seemed to matter. It just all points to this idea that, training that closely mimics the actual demands of the sport or whatever you're doing really gets the best results.
Yeah, that's a great observation. And it goes beyond just like hockey or athletics.
Right.
It's about understanding the context you're in and then tailoring your approach.
It's so obvious when you say it like that,
Yeah.
but it's so easy to get caught up in like the newest training fads or whatever without really stopping to think, will this actually help me perform better?
Exactly. It's like that saying, right? Practice doesn't make perfect.
Right.
Perfect practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
So if you're practicing the wrong things, or even if you're practicing the right things but in the wrong way, you're not going to get the result you want.
So how can we actually apply this principle of specificity to our own training? And I don't just mean for hockey. This could be for any sport or even just life in general, right?
Absolutely. It starts with being super clear about what your goals are.
Okay.
Like, what are you actually trying to achieve? What specific skills or abilities do you need? And once you know that, then you can start creating a plan that actually targets those areas.
So for a hockey player who wants to improve agility in tight spaces, it's not just skating through cones on the ice. It's doing drills that really mimic those game situations.
Exactly, yeah.
Like battling for the puck in the corners or dodging opponents while you're maintaining control.
Right, and if you're working on public speaking, it's not just reading books about rhetoric.
Right.
It's actually getting up and speaking in front of an audience as often as you can.
It's about bridging that gap between like theory and practice, between the training and the actual performance.
Exactly. And it's not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process. You need to constantly evaluate how you're doing, figure out where you can improve, and then adjust your approach as needed.
So it's about being mindful, being intentional, and being adaptable with your training.
Yeah.
And always trying to make those training sessions as specific and as relevant to your goals as possible.
Exactly.
I think that's a great takeaway from our deep dive today. We covered a lot, from the findings of that specific hockey agility study to those broader principles of specificity and mindful training.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think?
I think that was a great discussion. We challenged some common assumptions and hopefully encouraged you, the listener, to think critically about how you're training.
Remember, knowledge is power, but it only becomes truly valuable when we can actually understand it, apply it, and then continue to learn and grow from there.
Absolutely.
So go out there, experiment, and keep pushing your own limits.
And if you discover any game-changing training secrets, let us know.
We'll be here waiting until next time. Keep diving deep and keep those questions coming.
Thanks for tuning in to the Science of Hockey. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share it with your friends, teammates, or anyone who loves hockey as much as you do. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment to let us know what you liked, what you'd like to hear next, or any questions you have. Your feedback helps us make the show even better. Until next time, keep your skates sharp, your mind open, and keep chasing the science behind the game.